The end of the gardening season for me is kind of a bittersweet moment. It's bitter because it's like some things I wish would have done better, and so I can sit back and reflect on what can I do next year to try to do better. I was sad my winter peas or my fall peas didn't do so well, but my tomatoes did great. I'm pulling them up today. The other sweet moment about it is I get to add all this stuff back to my compost bin. And just as a refresher to those who've been following me on the composting, in this stage right here, where they're all nice and green, these would be a green material or high nitrogen to add back to the compost to help break down the woodier material, or dried out grass clippings, leaves, anything that would fit into the carbons. But yeah, with my chickens helping add some nitrogens and the wood chips and wood shavings that I pull out of their pen, I'm noticing that I might actually need more greens than I've been putting in lately to help get that stuff to break down. I thought with the chicken poop it would be enough, but I'm noticing it's still, when I turn it, pretty full of wood, well, more sawdust and other woody materials that I'd like to see break down more. But that's what I'm doing today. I'm going to strip this garden down, get it all ready. I'm going to probably put in the more beds right here, and I'm actually thinking about putting a small greenhouse over the top of these peas to see if we can get something out of them before the end of the season, before it gets way too cold. I'll let you know how that goes. There's only so much that I can do in one day, especially with a little boy who loves to help. But I have an idea on how to do that using my frames for the what is it called, for the trellising. But so square foot gardening, one of the reasons why I love it. I mean, I've had troubles trying to grow other things in it, but this is what you get with square foot gardening. I mean, you look at that root mass out of this tomato. Now, I did plant the tomato vine down deep in, but I mean, you see when I tug on it, it's pulling from clear over there. The roots that can just grow on the plants inside the square foot garden is just amazing how far they get. It does make it so they kind of start pulling vitables from other plants, but that's just why you gotta compost it in more. But I mean, you don't have to worry about this plant being able to find nutrients, being able to find moisture. The soils just teach these roots just to go and grow, and allows them to do so. I mean, go out to any one of your gardens that aren't in this style of soil and everything, and pull on the root and tell me how much comes up. I guarantee the roots do not grow like they do on this plant. And so, as I said, yes, it does force them to kind of take things from other plants, but by adding the compost in bi-weekly, you still end up giving the plant everything that it needs. And this soil is more than nutrient enough. And I'll be adding compost back in on top of these today for the winter, and we'll just let these roots right here decay down inside of the bed, and add back to the soil, giving it more fertility and friability. So I'm out here digging up these plants, and I know I talked about the roots before, but I have one that I want to show you right here. And basing it off the square foot garden, that root went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares from it, because I planted the tomatoes every other square. That means that thing is 6 feet long, but then it had a whole bunch of offshooters that I broke off. That's how good this soil is at allowing roots to grow. It's amazing stuff. So I'm putting the tomato plants and other plants into my compost, and when I go to put them in, what I like to do is kind of do this trench method. Oh, there's a potato. I wonder how cooked it is. Oh yeah, it's pretty cooked. I mean, I opened it up earlier. Dug this up a little bit earlier because I have been putting the tomatoes in. But what I do is I just create this trench where I put the tomato plants in, just kind of like that. And then I pull the layer of compost back on top of them from right up underneath it, trying to pull the bottom layer on top. And what that allows is it pulls the very, very bottom of the compost up, and you can see how hot it is, to mix it in with the top, the stuff that's really taken off, to help that take off. But then on top of that, it will just slowly mix everything in. Oh man, you see this? This is what I love about compost. That was some squash, and yeah, it looks gross on my hand, but I guarantee you that that is sterile from how hot it is. Whew. Kind of feels like it's gonna burn my hand. That's what's so great about this, is you can put things in like poops from animals that aren't meat eaters, aren't primary meat eaters. And for instance, chickens, though they eat meat, they're not primary because we feed them a lot of other things. But chickens, cows, horses, goats, you kind of name it in that realm of things, and you don't have to worry about it passing E. coli or salmonella, because this stuff gets hot. You just have to keep mixing it to make sure the outer stuff gets mixed in and gets hot, and it all decomposes down. We'll see how it keeps going. I need to start collecting more leaves to keep it going through the winter like I did last time, but I'm hoping in the spring I can fill this back up again. There's still quite a bit in there, but I'm going to be using some here and there. Just keep making it. It's good stuff. You see what it does for the roots of the plants. So last night we had some bad snow. Well, not bad snow. This isn't bad snow. It just got cold. A lot of ice had mixed in it. And I'm wondering, how is my compost doing? So I come out over my compost bin and my tarp was blowing around, and I was like, oh no, this isn't gonna be good. It probably got too cold. Put my hand in here, that water's warm to the touch. That's warm enough to wash a baby in. But I come over here, that's ice. I think my compost is going to be hot enough. If your compost hits these temperatures, you know you're doing it right, and everything's breaking down like it should. To give you a really good detail, you can see some of the fog coming off, but check this out. That's some steaming compost. It's a little bit on the wet side, but I know there's still some dry stuff in here from when I mixed it last time. So I'm just gonna mix it all up, possibly throw in a dry bag of leaves if I still feel like it's too wet. But yeah, steaming pile of compost.